久しぶりだな、麦わら。
Hey everyone, we are back again here today with another Perona gameplay footage video. We are taking on Randall with Black Yellow Luffy. Randall is the top 32 Red Purple Law player that we had previously uploaded footage on, but we are going first here, and we play Otama to pick up the You Can Be My Samurai, seeing that we put 2 Ice Ages to the bottom. Randall doing Black Yellow Luffy things and passing to us on 2, indicating that he does not have the Searcher in hand or 2Ks to take his life. But we go on 3 and we play the Otama to search out another card. Likely here we'll play the Momo down after playing You Can Be My Samurai to rest the 2 Otamas just to draw some cards. Although, given that we're not attacking, I don't think the sequencing necessarily matters as much, but we are setting up to search the following turn, and Randall here is just going to swing a big 9K at face. And speaking with Randall, he doesn't necessarily believe that it's worth swinging into the searchers for Perona, but rather just to pressure down face. And given the amount of non-counter that we run, I don't know that I necessarily disagree with him, but he is going to allow us in this game to reach a high number of cards in hand. So we search out with Momo, and we search another Momo, and we're just going to meme on him at this point and play another Momo here to search out another card. And we're going to pick up the You Can Be My Samurai here and use that to draw 2 more cards with the Otamas. And we have no intention of swinging at Luffy at this point. We're just trying to build up our hand size and resources to where we can drop bombs and then go for game at that point. And so we play the Belmere. We now have a full board, and we are set up to be able to search multiple cards per turn. So he once again is just swinging big here, 11, and we're going to take that going down to 2. Now, I'm not sure that we necessarily want to go down much lower than 2, so we may end up playing a blocker here this turn. We are now here at 7 Dawn, it should be. I imagine we will use 2 to search. So we pick up the You Can Be My Samurai. I'm not sure, we must have a Ryuma already in hand because we saw 2 in the top 5 search here. So, and we pass up another one, so we're just picking up cards for the sake of picking up cards at this point. And then I'm thinking we'll play down the Borsalino with the remaining 4 Dawn this turn after using 2 for the Momos and 1 for You Can Be My Samurai. Yeah, now we are forcing him to, okay, so he's just going to swing big again, and we're just going to block that, and then we're going to search again and do it all over again because you can see that we do have a Borsalino in hand. However, being on 9 Dawn here and seeing that we have 2 Morias in hand, I think it's best to either do You Can Be My Samurai or 1 Momo search, and then play down the Moria to replay the Otama to search another card as well as the Borsalino. Randall really showed us last turn, just sticking 8 on his Luffy leader, that he doesn't have the life Luffy or the 2Ks necessary to take his life. So we are tapping 1 for Momo here and picking up the 2K counter. And then we are playing 8 for Moria. And yes, we're going to play the Otama over the rested Momo, and then the Borsalino over the Otama, the standing Otama. And so we're looking at 5 and grabbing another 2K counter here. And then we've established our blocker, forcing Randall to actually play the game as opposed to just stacking Dawn and swinging big if he wants to actually progress the game state. It looks like Randall doesn't want to quite let go of going tall here, so we're just going to block with Borsalino as he's swinging 10. And then he does get the life Luffy and is able to draw a card and trash a life. So we know with what we currently have in hand and on the board that Luffy isn't going to make it through the turn. So what we were debating about there was whether we wanted to actually block with Borsalino or counter out of the swing, given that we wanted to get some stuff in trash for our Moria here. But we rest the Bellemere, and what we should do here is give the +1 to Moria to make it a 10k and be able to swing the 10k into the 8k Luffy. And it looks like that's what we did here. So he's not going to counter, give us 2 cards to be able to save it. So this does really free us up to where we don't have to use the Ryuma in hand anymore, and we can just play another Moria. But yeah, we have Tendon here, so we have the free Momo search, given that he has no board here, so we're not really forced to use any additional Don at this point. So we're just going to pick up the 2k, and then instead of playing the Moria, we just play the Zoro, because we're still at a healthy life total here. He doesn't have a board, so to speak, and we have like 16, 17 cards in hand. And we know the only real way that he has to answer our Zoro is a combination of both Ice Age and the Rocket Luffy, which he was able to search off of the Garp. However, him swinging 9 here, I believe we'll just counter out of that, but that's telling us that we're not expecting him to be able to get rid of our Zoro here, unless he plays a combination of Hiyori, Ice Age, plus the baby to be able to play the Rocket Luffy from life to get rid of our Zoro. But if he had done that, I think he would have done that prior to swinging with Leader, because he would have gotten the 2k buff, so it would have cost us 2 more cards to get out of the swing. So he just plays the Sabo here, and with us having the Bellemere on board, that Sabo is effectively already rested. So we should just swing straight into the Sabo, not give him any more resources. He's still at 3 life. Or we could really start to go in because we have the Zoro. I think personally, I would prefer to wait 1 additional turn before going in. So we do swing into the Sabo without having to rest our Zoro. And then we tap Momo because we know that we're going to play another Moria at this point. So we get the Ryuma. We've tapped 1 Don total, so we have 9 Don remaining. I think we maybe could poke 9 with Zoro here and then tap 1 to restand it before playing a Moria. But we're going to go 5 first because we have 3 swings available to us along with a lot of Don, so we're just going to force to be able to counter out of the 5k. And then we do swing the 9. He takes that, and then we do play our second Moria here. And yeah, we're going to play the Borsalino off of the Moria, as well as likely play the Otama over the Bellemere just to search a card. Normally, we would prioritize the Bellemere over the Otama in this matchup, given the number of 5 costs that he plays. But since Garp is on board, we're not going to waste resources defending it from the Garp swing. So we just search out the You Can Be My Samurai and pass to our opponent. And he's really looking to start his life loop at this point, where we have huge bodies on board and the 3 swings with Zoro. We have a minimum of 5 swings with Zoro next turn, or 5 swings with 9k bodies next turn, assuming he doesn't get rid of it. However, I would expect him to be able to get rid of it given the number of cards he has in hand as well. We saw him search out the Rocket Luffy, so I would expect him to stack that with his bottom life here. And so once he pays 1 for Ice Age, we'll know that he stacked the Rocket Luffy to be able to start his life loop. And then he'll likely play a Sabo as well. So you can barely tell, but the card in his right hand is the Rocket Luffy. He's debating about stacking that, just making sure that he has the Ice Age, because he really can't go into our turn still having the Zoro on the board plus the 2 Morias. Because while he does have a lot of cards in hand, I don't think he has that many cards in hand. So he does have the Ice Age here, so unfortunately Zoro is going to get cleared. However, him having done that, he still has no board, so to speak of. Sabo that he plays is going to be his only real threat to us, and that's more of a blocker than anything else. So I would imagine that we're able to easily get rid of the Sabo as well. Could potentially play another Bellemere and just swing into the Sabo. But yeah, he does play Sabo here, draws 2 and is able to cycle 2, give his board protection, but we're not necessarily concerned with what he has on board, being the 2-2Ks and the Garp. And then he just swings 11K, which we're going to take because we want to keep the Borsalino on board at this point. We may just, I don't know what we're going to do this turn. We have a ton of options, as you can see. I think we may just play the Sabo after playing the Belmere. So I would imagine, yeah, we play the Belmere, rest the Sabo. We're going to swing into the Sabo with maybe the leader because we have additional Dons just so that we can swing into life with the Morias. And then we're going to use 5 for Sabo to play over the Otama. So if we think through that, that's 1 for Belmere, 5 for Sabo, giving us 4 remaining. So my thought here would be that we just swing base 6 into Sabo, see if he's willing to give us a card to protect it. Then we swing Moria into it, and then we just swing big into lead. So yeah, it looks like we're just going to swing 6 base into the Sabo here. He's not going to want to let it go that easily, so he's going to give us a card, put another Sabo in trash for himself. Then he does let it go as opposed to giving us 2 cards here for the Moria. And then I would imagine that we just attach what Don we have left to be able to swing with Moria. So we're swinging 11K here. He doesn't want to give us 2 cards, so he lets the Luffy go down. And so we've used 4 Don now, 1 on leader, 2 on Moria, and 1 for Belmere. So we have 6 left, knowing that we want to play Sabo. So we have 1 more Don. So we used You Can Be My Samurai to tap 2 and draw 2 cards. And then play the Sabo to cycle 2 additional cards and set up our trash. And we do that because we're not necessarily afraid of dying, giving his board the amount of counter that we have in hand with 17 or 18 cards and still having the life. So he's going to swing 2 into Belmere just to be able to get rid of that with the Garp. And then I would expect him to use a Moria here to start fighting back. So we're expecting an 11K swing with leader. And we're expecting him to probably play Ace Sabo, given the board state, because the Rocket Luffy doesn't do a ton here with the board being protected by Sabo. So we know Ace can't swing into our Morias. It could possibly swing into Borsalino if he's looking to try to clear board at all. But I think that we could counter out of the 7K swing and then either take the 11 or just block with Sabo. And you can see here we're just counting the number of cards left in deck just to make sure that we're not at risk of decking out, because we are a bit concerned with that given the number of cards we've drawn this game. And it does look like we have about 13 cards left in deck at this point. So we do have a few more turns. And like we said, what we were expecting, given our board state, the Rocket Luffy doesn't do a ton at this point, so he's going to play the Ace Sabo. I would imagine that we counter out of the 7 and then block the 11, depending on where he swings, I would say. And so he plays his 2 babies, goes up to a 9K leader plus the 2 attached to make him 11. So he's got a 7K swing and an 11K swing. First deciding what to pitch off of the Sabo. And we do point out to him at this point that he may want to rethink what he's pitching here, given that we most likely have an Ice Age in our 17 card hand and we're able to swing tall with Moria because he has the only 1 blocker and no life. And so we do counter out of the 7 with the Izo and the Momo, and then he does go 11 here. We may counter out of this just given the obscene number of cards in hand, but in a similar vein, we may also take it like we did here because of the obscene number of cards in hand, so we're not necessarily afraid of dying. And now, here on this turn, we're going to keep our blocker standing because we would have to invest too much Dawn. We're going to start off with a 9k swinging ace, try and bait 2 cards out of his hand. And then we're going to Ice Age and rest the Sabo here. And then we're going to attach one to Perona. See if he'll give us a card just before we go all out with Gecko. If he had given us a card, we would have gone all out with Gecko, but because he didn't, we don't have the math here if he has all 2k, so we're just going to swing 11, get 2 cards out of his hand. And then we may play another blocker here. But Randall's just going to scoop because he knows that the writing's on the wall. He doesn't have a way to kill us, and we just have way too many resources. Hope you guys enjoyed. Like, comment, and subscribe.